You must become addicted to yourself, self-love. Carl Jung on emotional growth. What if the most profound, the most transformative, the most epic love story of your life was not with another person, but with the one soul you are guaranteed to spend every single second with until your last breath? Yourself. We spend our lives searching for a connection that completes us. We look for it in the eyes of a lover, in the approval of a crowd, in the validation of success. We become addicted to everything external, to praise, to distraction, to substances, to anything that will quiet the gnawing emptiness within. But Carl Jung, the great explorer of the soul's inner continent, proposed a radical, almost heretical idea. He suggested that true wholeness is not found by looking outward, but by turning inward with such ferocious, unwavering devotion that you become, in a sense, addicted to your own being. This isn't the shallow addiction of the ego, the kind that seeks selfies and applause. That is a desperate cry for external validation. This is something else entirely. It is a sacred addiction. It is the gravitational pull of your own authentic self, the true luminous center of your psyche calling you home. It is the realization that within you lies an entire universe, more vast, more complex, and more rewarding than anything the outer world can offer. Most of us are terrified of this inner world. We run from our own silence. We fear the unfiltered truth of our own company. And so, we live as strangers to ourselves, chasing fleeting reflections in the world outside, wondering why we never feel truly whole. Our journey today is a pilgrimage to the center of that inner universe. We will explore what it means to cultivate this sacred addiction to the self. We will navigate the treacherous mirage of narcissism, and we will discover the practical art of courting your own soul. This is not a journey into vanity. It is a journey into the deepest form of self-love, the kind that does not seek the light but becomes it. Prepare yourself. The greatest love affair of your existence is about to begin. Number 1. The gravity of the self. Redefining a sacred addiction. Our journey begins by taking a word we fear, addiction, and baptizing it in the waters of the sacred. In our common language, addiction is a chain. It is a desperate, destructive dependency on something outside of ourselves that promises relief, but delivers only a deeper prison. It is an escape from the self. The sacred addiction Jung points towards is the precise opposite. It is not an escape, but a homecoming. It is not a chain, but a liberation. It is the conscious cultivation of a gravitational pull, not towards a substance, a person, or an outcome, but towards the core of your own being, the self. To grasp this, we must understand the crucial distinction Jung made between the ego and the self. Imagine the solar system. The ego is the planet Earth. It is where we live our daily lives. It is our conscious identity, our personality, our sense of I. It believes with all its might that it is the center of everything. It is important, it is necessary, but it is not the source of light. The self, in Jung's cosmology, is the sun. It is the true center of our psychological universe. It is the totality of our being, encompassing both the conscious ego and the vast, mysterious territory of the unconscious. It is the organizing principle of the psyche, the source of our deepest wisdom, our life force, our connection to the divine. The self is whole, complete, and contains all our potential. For most of our lives, our little planet, the ego, is oriented outwards. It desperately orbits other people's approval, society's expectations, and cultural trends, mistaking these fleeting asteroids and distant stars for its true sun. We become addicted to these external bodies, contorting our orbit to please them, and in doing so we drift further and further into the cold, dark space of inauthenticity. We feel a deep chill, a profound sense of being lost because we have lost our true gravitational center. To become addicted to yourself is to begin the monumental process of reorienting your entire being. It is the ego consciously choosing to stop orbiting the chaos of the external world and instead enter into its rightful, reverent orbit around its own inner sun, the self. This is not a passive state. It is an active, passionate engagement with your own inner world. It is becoming so fascinated by your own dreams, so curious about your own shadows, so committed to your own growth. and so in love with your own unique, unrepeatable essence that the opinions and validations of the outside world begin to lose their gravitational pull. They become what they are, distant lights in the sky, beautiful to observe, but no longer the center of your universe. This is the beginning of the journey Jung called individuation, the process of becoming an undivided individual, a whole and complete solar system unto yourself. Number 2, the mirage in the desert, the shadow of self-love. Now as we venture deeper into this inner landscape, we arrive at a dangerous and deceptive terrain, a vast desert shimmering with a powerful mirage. From a distance, this mirage looks exactly like the oasis we are seeking. It promises life, water, and fulfillment. This mirage is narcissism, the dark shadow of self-love. It is here that most journeys to the self go astray. The modern world, with its obsession with personal branding and curated identities, actively encourages us to mistake the mirage for the oasis. It tells us that self-love is about perfecting the mask, about loving the reflection, about curating an image of flawlessness for public consumption. This is the addiction of the ego, not the devotion of the self. A narcissist is not someone who is in love with themselves. A narcissist is someone who is in love with an idealized, inflated, and fragile image of themselves, and they are terrified of anyone, including themselves, seeing the reality that lies behind it. They are perpetually thirsty in the desert, drinking the sand of external validation while pretending it is water. Their self-love is a performance, a desperate attempt to convince the world and themselves of a greatness they do not feel. It is loud, brittle, and defensive. The sacred addiction to the self is the opposite. It is not about loving a perfect image. It is about having the courage to love the whole, imperfect, messy, and magnificent reality of your being. It is about finding the true, hidden spring of water deep beneath the desert sands. This requires digging. It requires embracing the parts of yourself that the narcissist runs from in terror. This means becoming addicted to your shadow. It means becoming fascinated by your own anger, your envy, your fear, and your pettiness. Not to act them out blindly, but to understand their origins, to hear their wisdom, and to integrate their energy. The narcissist says, "I have no shadow." The individuating soul says, "My shadow is a part of my wholeness, and I will court it with as much love as my light." This means becoming addicted to your vulnerability. The narcissist builds walls of arrogance to protect their fragile ego. The one devoted to the self understands that true strength is found in the courage to be open, to be soft, to admit, "I don't know," or "I was wrong," or "I am hurting." The most common misconception is that this journey makes you selfish or disconnected from others. The opposite is true. The narcissist cannot truly love another because they see others only as mirrors to reflect their own grandeur or as tools to meet their own needs. But when you drink from the deep well of your own self, you are filled to overflowing. You no longer need anything from anyone. And from this state of profound inner fullness, you can finally love others freely, cleanly, without agenda. You can see them for who they are, not for what they can do for you. Loving yourself deeply does not isolate you from the world. It is the only way to truly connect with it. Number 3, the echoes in the marketplace, self-love in a world of noise. Now we bring our journey out of the inner desert and into the bustling, noisy marketplace of everyday life. It is here, amidst the transactions of relationships, careers, and social interactions, that our lack of addiction to the self becomes most painfully apparent. We see its echoes everywhere in the patterns that keep us small, anxious, and unfulfilled. Consider the social chameleon. This is the person whose center of gravity is so completely external that their personality, opinions, and even their core values shift depending on who they are with. With their intellectual friends, they are a philosopher. With their party friends, they are a hedonist. With their conservative family, they are a traditionalist. They are a masterpiece of social adaptation, but they are an utter stranger to themselves. They are addicted not to their own self, but to the feeling of belonging, of being accepted. The tragedy of the chameleon is that while they may be liked by everyone, they are loved by no one, for no one, including themselves, has ever met their true self. The addiction to self would mean finding their own true colors and having the courage to wear them in every room they enter. Then there is the validation junkie. This is the individual whose entire emotional state is a puppet on the strings of external feedback. A positive comment on their social media post sends them soaring with elation. A day of silence from their partner plunges them into a spiral of despair and self-doubt. A word of praise from their boss makes them feel worthy. A minor criticism makes them feel like a complete failure. They have outsourced the job of regulating their own self-worth to the volatile, unpredictable whims of the outside world. They are perpetually checking their phone, their emails, their partner's mood, seeking the next hit of validation to feel okay. An addiction to the self would mean severing those puppet strings. It would mean cultivating an inner source of worth so deep and so stable that external praise becomes a pleasant bonus, not a desperate necessity, and external criticism becomes useful data, not a devastating verdict. Finally, think of the chronic apologizer. This is the person who apologizes for their very existence. "Sorry to bother you," they say, when asking a legitimate question. "Sorry, this might be a silly idea," they preface, before sharing a brilliant insight. "I'm sorry," they whisper, when someone else bumps into them. Their life is a preemptive apology for taking up space. This behavior stems from a deep-seated belief that their needs, their thoughts, and their presence are an inconvenience. This is the ultimate betrayal of the self. To become addicted to the self is to understand that your existence is not an imposition, but a birthright. It is to learn to speak your truth without apology, to state your needs without shame, and to occupy your space in the world with a quiet, grounded confidence that requires no one's permission. These are not character flaws. They are symptoms of a soul that is orbiting the wrong sun. They are the echoes of a psyche crying out for its true center. Recognizing these patterns in your own life is the first crucial step in beginning the great reorientation inward. Number 4. The unveiling of the universe, the philosophical shift. As we recognize these echoes in our daily lives, our journey leads us to a profound philosophical precipice. To truly become addicted to the self is not just to change a few behaviors, it is to fundamentally revolutionize your entire understanding of reality and your place within it. It is to shift from a Ptolemaic to a Copernican view of your own life. For most of your existence, you have lived in a Ptolemaic universe. You believed your small ego self was the center, and the vast, chaotic, and often terrifying world revolved around you. Life happened to you. Other people's actions were personal attacks. The world's events were a source of constant anxiety. You were a small, fragile boat being tossed on a vast, unpredictable ocean, desperately trying to navigate the waves of fortune and the storms of misfortune. Your primary objective was survival, and your primary emotional state was a low-grade fear. The addiction to the self is the Copernican revolution of the soul. It is the shattering, terrifying, and ultimately liberating realization that you are not the boat. You are the entire ocean. The true center of your experience is not the fragile ego, but the vast, indestructible self. Everything you perceive, joy, pain, love, loss, success, failure, is a wave forming and dissolving on the surface of your own consciousness. Other people are not separate entities acting upon you. They are other waves in the same ocean, and their behavior is a reflection of their own inner weather, not a verdict on your worth. This shift changes everything. It is the source of unshakable peace. When you are the ocean, you're no longer afraid of the waves. You understand that even the most violent storm is just a temporary expression of your own nature. It will rise, it will crash, and it will return to the calm, deep stillness that is your true essence. This is why a person truly connected to their self can experience immense grief without being destroyed by it, or immense success without being inflated by it. They know that all experiences are transient forms upon the permanent ground of their own being. This is the key to true freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom from the desperate need for things to be a certain way. Freedom from the tyranny of other people's opinions. Freedom from the addiction to praise and the fear of criticism. When you are truly addicted to the richness of your own inner world, you no longer need the outer world to entertain you, to validate you, or to complete you. This is the ultimate purpose of individuation. It is not to become perfect, but to become whole. It is to withdraw the projections we have cast upon the world, our need for a savior, our search for a villain, our hope for a magical solution, and reclaim that energy for ourselves. It is to realize that the hero, the lover, the sage, and the king are all archetypes living within the kingdom of your own psyche. To become addicted to yourself is to become the benevolent ruler of that inner kingdom, to find everything you were ever searching for, right where you have always been. Number 5. The art of inner courtship. Tools for a sacred addiction. Our pilgrimage now arrives at its final and most vital destination, the practical sanctuary where this sacred addiction is cultivated. A philosophical understanding is beautiful, but without practice, it is merely a map of a land you have never visited. To truly live this truth, you must court your own soul with the same tenderness, consistency, and devotion you would offer the greatest love of your life. This is the art of inner courtship, a set of conceptual tools to build a lasting intimacy with yourself. The first tool is the practice of the sacred date. You must schedule regular, non-negotiable, and protected time to be alone with yourself. I do not mean time spent scrolling on your phone or watching a series while alone. I mean pure, undistracted presence with your own being. This is your date with yourself. It could be 30 minutes of silent walking in nature, a morning spent journaling with a cup of tea before the world awakes, or an evening dedicated to listening to music that stirs your soul. During this time, the only rule is to turn your attention inward. What are you feeling truly? What thoughts are circling? What desires or fears are whispering from the depths? At first, this silence may feel deafeningly uncomfortable. That is the sign that it is working. You are detoxing from the external noise. By consistently showing up for these dates, you send a powerful message to your unconscious. You matter. I am listening. I am here for you. The second tool is the cultivation of the inner compass. Our lives are a series of 1,000 daily choices, from what to eat for breakfast to whether to take a new job. For most of us, these decisions are guided by an external compass. What we should do, what others expect, what looks good. To court the self, you must learn to navigate by your inner compass. Before making a choice, however small, pause. Take a breath. Place a hand on your heart and ask a simple question. Does this choice expand my energy or contract it? Does this feel like an act of love towards my true self or an act of betrayal? The answer will not always be logical. It will be a feeling, a subtle sense of rightness, a quiet knowing. Learning to trust this inner sensation over the loud demands of the ego and the world is perhaps the most crucial skill in this entire journey. It is how you align your actions with your soul. The third tool is the dialogue with the inner council. Your psyche is not a monolith. It is a rich and diverse inner community. It contains the inner critic, the wounded child, the sage, the warrior, the lover. Too often, we are at war with these parts of ourselves. The practice of the inner council, inspired by Jung's active imagination, is an act of inner diplomacy. In a quiet, meditative state, visualize a round table in a safe, sacred space. Invite these parts of yourself to take a seat. Give them a voice. Ask your inner critic what it is so afraid of. Ask your wounded child what it needs to feel safe. Ask your sage for its wisdom. Your role is not to judge or to silence any of them, but to be the compassionate moderator of the council. You are the self holding space for all of its expressions. This practice transforms inner conflict into inner collaboration. It is an act of radical self-acceptance that heals the fractures within, creating the wholeness that is the foundation of this sacred addiction. By engaging in these practices, you are no longer just thinking about self-love. You are living it. You are actively, patiently, and lovingly courting the magnificent soul that you are. We have journeyed far. We have redefined the very nature of addiction, turning it from a chain into a key. We have navigated the shimmering mirage of narcissism to find the true wellspring of the soul. We have seen the echoes of our inner estrangement in the marketplace of our lives, and we have witnessed the philosophical dawn of a new, self-centered universe. And finally, we have been given the gentle tools of inner courtship. The path to becoming addicted to yourself is the ultimate love story. It is a slow, quiet, and sometimes difficult romance, but its rewards are infinite. It is the end of the desperate, exhausting search for wholeness outside of yourself. It is the beginning of a life lived from a place of deep, unshakable inner fullness. When you are truly in love with your own being, you become a sun. You radiate a warmth and a light that nourishes not only yourself, but everyone you encounter. You no longer drain energy from others. You generate it. You no longer seek love. You are it. This is the great secret hidden in plain sight. The universe you have been searching for has been within you all along, patiently waiting for you to come home. This journey is not about reaching a final destination of perfection. It is about falling in love with the process of becoming. It is about finding the divine beauty in your own complex, contradictory, and glorious humanity. It is about understanding that you, in your entirety, are a masterpiece worth being addicted to. The greatest romance of your life is waiting. The journey inward is calling. If this pilgrimage to the heart of the self resonates with your own soul's quiet longing, I invite you to continue the exploration with us. Subscribe to this channel, and together, we will continue to chart the vast, luminous continent that lies within.